floors, echoes of our family lore. Grandpa's jump shot, dad's fast break.
Welcome back, Keys to the Gym fans. This is the coach, and I'm here with
PG.
It's been several weeks since we've had a chance to come back together and talk some hoops with you, and we are now, the women's basketball season is well underway. We just got finished watching the UCLA South Carolina game. Bit of a shock, right?
Yeah.
A shock to the system to see them go down. It's their first loss in like 85 games.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Kind of crazy, but we're just going to talk hoops today. We're going to talk a little bit about some of our early season observations, get back on track. A little disruption to our schedule, but we are back with you and excited to talk hoops again like we've been doing. So let's get into the game. Let's talk a little bit about what your observations were. Was there something that surprised you? And we'll talk about some of the other games that we've been watching and what's going on in the women's game today.
I mean, like you mentioned earlier, we just watched the UCLA South Carolina game, and UCLA just offensively, they were shooting the ball really well, moving the ball. I thought that game, very interesting outcome. What did it end up being, a 20-point game at the end?
77-62. 77-62.
Oh, so they did end up...
Score's probably a little fool's gold, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not a great representation of how dominant UCLA was. Let's talk a little bit about, let's do some team stats here. The quarters, quarter one, UCLA 20-10, quarter two, UCLA 23-12. South Carolina actually won quarters 3 and 4, but the lead was so significant at that point, it really didn't move the needle. UCLA was 10 of 21 from 3. South Carolina was 8 of 12. But UCLA was almost 48% from the floor as compared to South Carolina, who was just under 37.
I do think South Carolina had just the same amount of turnovers as UCLA at the end of the game, right?
Actually, you'd be surprised.
Really?
Total turnovers. South Carolina 13, UCLA 17.
Wow. It's interesting.
But the rebounding margin was +7 for UCLA. 2 more threes, 5 more free throws, 4 more field goals made overall. So a dominant early start. Let's look at the box score. Of course, they were playing, South Carolina's playing without.
Oh, Malaysia Full-Wiley.
Malaysia Full-Wiley, so was not present for the game. Tahina Paopao was really the only punch that South Carolina had at the offensive end of the floor. 4 for 4 from 3, 7 of 13 from the floor overall. Had 18 points in the game. Ashley Watkins got 8 off the bench. Joyce Edwards got 6 off the bench. Tessa Johnson got 14 off the bench for for the majority of their 62 points. But just really overall a dominant UCLA performance. The rhythm for the game from the floor, pretty significant. So it's kind of interesting when you look at the stat line. London Jones was 5 of 5 from 3 off the bench.
Yeah.
They were 10 of 21 from the 3, 28 of 59 for 48, just about 48% from the floor, and 11 of 14. So kind of an interesting, and then 41 rebounds to 34 rebounds. Lauren Betts had 14 of those. To me, she really set the tone, don't you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. She's just so good. I mean,
well, it's sort of like a little bit of, in some ways, a little bit of, I hate to even use this term, old school basketball, where they used their interior presence to sort of set a tone, right? And force South Carolina to give attention to Betts, which sort of triggered everything else. They were able to get stops early, and that allowed them to get their offense going. But when you look at the statistical line, it's not a ton of staggering stats, right? I think one of the biggest differences was the glass. But South Carolina had 16 offensive rebounds to UCLA's 14. But they out-rebounded them on the defensive glass 27-18. So there's a pretty big difference there. And then UCLA did turn it over more. So, you know, it's a little bit of interesting. Some of the typical statistics we would look at to see where there's separation. It was really the defensive glass, and then the percentage shot from the floor, free throw line, and three. Overall more made baskets, more opportunities for them. Generally speaking, just more made field goals. So, you know, not again, a 15-point 77-62 sort of UCLA cool a little bit in the second half, but got up to such a great start. I think again, Lauren Betts was a key trigger there. What else? What other thoughts, Soph, on the game?
I mean, I was surprised to see Malaysia Fulwiley not playing. She said ankle injury. I do think that her playing changes. I mean, I don't necessarily think it changes the outcome of that game, but I do think it makes it more competitive. I feel as she's their motor. I feel like she's their motor, and she just impacts the game in so many different ways, defensively, offensively. So I think her being there does make the game more competitive.
Yeah, it certainly would have an impact. An interesting observation from the commentators: UCLA now has the numbers 1, 2, and 3 players from the class of Kiki Rice, Lauren Betts, and blanking on Barker, right? Mm-hmm. We're all they were the 1, 2, and 3 in that class here, all on the roster. I thought Kiki Rice looked really in rhythm today.
Yeah,
you know, their depth is quite a bit better, and you know, it'll be interesting to see what happens there overall. Other games that you've been interested to see as the early season. We were at the UConn-UNC game a couple weeks ago, right?
Yes.
UConn ended up winning that one. I think it was 11. Right?
Yeah.
Being 11. At times they were up 17, 18 points. Looks fairly comfortable. Anything in particular that struck you in watching that game?
I thought it ended up being closer than it should have been. UNC didn't stop competing throughout the game. I do think that UConn limited Usby, who I'm pretty sure was their leading scorer last year, or was that Deja Kelly?
Deja Kelly was their leading scorer last year.
One of their top leading scorers last season. They limited her inside. UConn just moves the ball really well. They run their stuff. They're very solid defensively. I mean, I thought, like I said, it was closer than it should have been at the end. But any thoughts from you?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it was 11. It felt like it was a lot more than 11 at the end, to be completely honest with you. UNC made a good decision after the game got out to 17, 18 points to move to a zone. It changed the flow and the pace of the game. Very impressive performance overall, right? From the freshman Sarah Strong. Mm-hmm. She looked every bit of the player that people believe she can be at that particular level. Mm-hmm. She's going to be a critical piece to the puzzle for UConn over the course of this season. Paige got 29.
Yeah.
Right? Did she get 29?
Yeah, I think it was 29.
Final was 29 points. But just UConn got every shot that they wanted. Mm-hmm. And they missed a bunch of shots. One thought I had, I do think UConn is going to need to get shot-making ability from some other players.
Yeah.
KK Arnold does give them a pretty big motor she's more of a traditional point guard from the perspective of she's very disruptive defensively. She can really go with the ball in her hands. It is a very strong finishing to the basket. Still has some growth opportunity as a jump shooter. But obviously they got the transfer from Princeton, Caitlin Chen.
Yeah.
And so that's an experienced player. She was an honorable mention All-American last year at Princeton. Big time player. It gives them experience and depth at the guard spot. AZ Fudd is out right now, so looking to Ashlyn Shade for more perimeter shot making capabilities. And that was where in the second half, that zone really, challenged them, because I thought they made good reads against the zone overall, getting the ball to spots that were disruptive to UNC's zone defense, and just missed some open looks, a couple in and around the basket. And that was where I thought Sarah Strong really had a lot of impact, is just when she catches it in the interior, especially in the high post area, or Paige can get into the second level, they were getting good looks. And so looking for Strong to be really a critical additional piece for them. But the key for UConn is going to be, can they stay healthy?
Yeah.
And so they can stay healthy, and they get AZ Fudd back. That's just another guard that is going to create some difficulty, because she can just knock them in.
Yeah.
But very impressive. I, again, didn't really think that UNC was all that much of a factor.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, right? Having a conversation with a couple of folks from a couple of coaches in our AAU organization, and talking about just how communicative UConn was on the floor as compared to UNC. Just seemed a lot more connected. But it'll be interesting to follow UNC as the season goes along. They're 4-1 right now, as I'm looking at the ACC standings. Pardon me, 5-1 now, winning the last two, and they have them at 16th. It's early, right? So sometimes some of these games are going to be games that teams are going to have significant advantage over. But I'll be interested to follow that group. Roster is definitely different, but and they do have some younger pieces with the departure of Deja Kelly, who had been a scoring factor for them. It'll be interesting to see where the season goes for them and the roles that everybody occupies. You mentioned Melissa Usby. It's kind of a blender utility point forward-ish type of player for them. But, if North Carolina has the ability to make perimeter jump shots, I think they'll be able to have a very competitive season in the league. Mm-hmm. Other thoughts from that game? Other things that stood out to you?
We talk about Paige Beckers, right? I thought she could have had more. There was a stretch in the fourth quarter. I don't know. They were up, was it low teens? And UNC was going on a run, and she finally went back in the game by the end of the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. But 29 points is outstanding performance from her. Her mid-range game is so good.
Listen, she is as efficient a three-level scorer as you will find in basketball, period. Just 100%. And you're right. Her mid-range game is incredible. I think she was 12 of 21 from the floor in that game. Yes, 12 of 21. She had 29 points and only hit once at the line once. Mm-hmm. She also had 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals. And so 4 of 8 from 3. So shooting, again, a very competitive percentage. But they really didn't get shot making from anybody else. Caitlin Chen was 1 of 2 from 3, gave them 9 points. Ashlyn Shade was 1 for 5. And again, you have that. Sarah Strong 0 for 7, still got 14. But again, 0 for 7 from 3, still got 14. But Strong also had 13 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 blocks.
Yeah.
Again, against an ACC opponent who at the time was ranked about 14, they're going to be in that range probably most of the year. And a player for North Carolina, though, that I was really intrigued by was just because of the way she let the game come from. This is a kid, India Navarre, who transferred back home to North Carolina, who grew up in the Raleigh area, who originally attended Stanford, had 15 points, 9 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks, shot 6 of 11, 1 of 2 from 3, 2 for 2 from the free throw line. That's a player that didn't get crazy minutes last year, played minutes for them,
Mm-hmm.
but got 32 minutes, is going to be a key for them this year to be able to give them consistent guard scoring to go along with the shot making potential for Alexei Donarski. But again, a lot of interesting early season matchups to see as the season starts to progress. But UConn, I have to think, is going to be in the mix as the season progresses. Another team, and that I got to see early. We'll stay in the ACC for a minute here as we look at NC State. So again, we talked about all the ACC schools, but looking at NC State, they've played a good early schedule, 3-2, but a loss to TCU, which we didn't have. They lost 76-73 at TCU, so on the road. They lost early to South Carolina. Again, South Carolina is really good.
Yes.
But what was interesting is that one of the things that when we did our little ACC preview, one of the things that really struck me was I thought the strength of NC State would be their guard play.
Yes.
And they looked, and again, it's not to take away from anything from either team, but I thought that would definitely be their strength. And South Carolina, they did not look up to the test in this particular game. So they looked a little bit outmatched at the guard spots. Zamariah Jones in that game gave him 28 minutes off the bench, 16 points, so a solid outing overall. But Sanaya Rivers, 29 minutes, 4 points. She did get 7 rebounds. Zoe Brooks, 29 minutes, 11 points. Zaya James. So they got collective, but they just looked, they only got to score 57 points overall. I thought they looked a little bit outmatched at the guard spots, as I thought that would be a strength. And they still performed, but in an aggregate. But there were moments where I thought, like, the score ended up being 14, but South Carolina looked very much in control throughout the game. So that was a game that I was intrigued by early on. Other thoughts, other things that you're noticing as we are early on here? Anything about the ACC space?
I'm excited to see Notre Dame.
Oh yeah,
continue to play. I'm a huge Hannah Hidalgo fan. I watched the game. We watched the game yesterday, Notre Dame versus USC. They ended up pulling out the win 74-61. So 13-point game, but they just looked really good defensively. Offensively, they were moving the ball. Both of these teams ran a lot in transition, but I don't know how many points they had off of turnovers, USC turnovers, but they scored a lot in transition. So I'll be interested to see. They play UConn on the 12th. Okay. December. So I'm excited for that matchup. And they also play Texas on the 5th. Mm-hmm. So I'll be interested to see those two matchups. Any thoughts from you?
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, we had Notre Dame as a potential Final Four team. They're still without Liatu King, I believe is still injured. They're without Maddie Westfeld, mm-hmm. right? We had to get their name on for a little bit yesterday. But their backcourt looks, and you got to have a backcourt who can score and defend, right? You have to be a balanced team to be able to make a run in the tournament. In the early days here, through 5 games, they look every bit of a Final Four team, as you could imagine. The team I told you to watch, do you remember the team that I really was interested to see how they would start the year? Do you remember? That's a new entrant to the ACC.
Cal?
Yeah. Cal's right now.
Are they 6-0?
They're 6-0. Yeah, Cal is 6-0. Now, obviously, records can be a little deceiving.
Yeah.
But they beat St. Mary's 90-58, beat Idaho State 88-36, San Jose State 82-53, Gonzaga they beat 86-65. Again, mm-hmm. St. Mary's and Gonzaga, who have been sort of stalwarts in the West Coast Conference for years, usually had good programs. They handled both of them. They beat Grambling 86-63. They did have a close one against Auburn, this one 63-59, so much more competitive. But they are everything early that I thought they would be, and have built up a nice rhythm and momentum. So kind of interesting. And then I'll flip it and also give myself a little pat on the back here, because the team that I was worried about going into the season, who had a great year finishing in the top 4 last year, Syracuse, has had a challenging start. And I'll flip that and we'll transition a little bit into the American East, because we've been watching a few. We caught a few UAlbany games. Syracuse loses at home to UAlbany from the American East. UAlbany's now beaten an Atlantic 10 conference team and an ACC team in their first 5 games, winning most of the other games in a close game. So it's an interesting, when you look at those two teams, the league isn't getting, the ACC is not getting any easier, so to speak, with the additions of Cal and Stanford and SMU. But on the flip side, Syracuse looks like could be in for a tough season if they don't, if they're not careful. So the ACC overall, Cal 6-0, Georgia Tech 5-0, Miami 5-0, Notre Dame 5-0, Boston College 6-1. Boston College has probably played, in my opinion, the lightest schedule of those that I've really taken a close look at. Duke's 5-1, Florida State's 5-1. They won again today. They've won 4 in a row. North Carolina's 5-1, Pittsburgh's 5-1, and Pittsburgh is looking to really build. They've had a couple of challenging years. Stanford 5-1, Virginia's 5-1, Virginia Tech 5-1 under the new head coach Manny Duffy. Clemson Tigers 3-1, Louisville's 4-2. They've played a very competitive schedule, which we talked about in a previous episode. And so kind of be interesting to see. They lost to UCLA, like a very competitive game at home. Then beat Southern Indiana, beat UT Martin, lost to Kentucky, which I picked. Yeah. And beat Morehead State, beat South Florida. And so, but again, the league overall was winning, the majority of the games we would expect to. And they're going to go to Colorado on the 30th, and they're going to come home and play Oklahoma, who's the 9th ranked team currently, and home against UConn to as well. So there's some great early season games. Coach Walls here with Louisville definitely scheduling themselves to prepare them for the league and prepare them for the NCAA tournament by playing that little schedule. They've got a blend of veteran and younger players. How about Kentucky? Are we surprised by the start Kentucky has had? I'm going to tell you what I think in a second, of course, but what are your thoughts as we kind of shift gears over to the SEC?
What's their record right now?
Do they have a loss?
I don't think so. Are they 5-0, 6-0?
Let me confirm here in just a second.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you said they beat Louisville. I was not surprised by the outcome of that game. Didn't it go to overtime? Was that the game that went to overtime?
No. So they beat South Carolina Upstate 98-43.
Yeah.
Let me just double check this. Yeah, went to overtime.
Yeah.
They went overtime 13-3.
So they don't have a loss?
They do not. They're 5-0.
I feel like we were predicting this.
We did.
Yeah.
We thought they would get off to a good start.
Have they had any other tough games?
Yeah. So they've played really a schedule that I think is representative of kind of an early season, new staff. They beat South Carolina Upstate by a pretty sizable margin. Then they beat Northern Kentucky at home, Wofford at home, Louisville at home. So they played everybody at home. Yeah. Their first 7 games at home. They've got Arizona State next on Tuesday night, and then they're home against that's going to be a event. They have Arizona State, and then they got Louisville back-to-back nights. And then they'll go to North Carolina. That will be a very interesting matchup on the 5th of December. Mm-hmm. But in terms of, so they're currently at 15th, 5-1 or 5-0, first in the SEC to the non-conference. But the player that I thought would be really critical, that I thought would definitely take a step forward, is
Clara Strack.
And I said that because we got a good chance to watch Clara play at the end of last season as a freshman at Virginia Tech, as a first-year player at Virginia Tech. Was getting backup spot minutes, but rotational minutes behind Liz Kitley during the season. But then, of course, Liz Kitley got injured to close out the year, and Clara Strack had to step in, right, and play those primary minutes. So she's averaging through 5 games, just over 31 minutes a game, 15 points, just under 16 points, 10 rebounds, 4.4 assists, and 3.2 blocks.
Just as you were predicting.
That's exactly what I would have expected, her coming out and being the right hand of Georgia Amore, who's averaging at just over 15 a game, just over 8 assists. So they have set the tone for the start of their season as they build this roster and build this group to prepare for SEC play. 2 other keys for them, actually 3 other keys for them on this roster. Tiani Key is getting just under 12 minutes a game at 8.8 rebounds. And then Clara Silva at just over 16 minutes a game, 7 points, 3 rebounds, and just under 3 blocks. As a group, Strack, Key, and Silva averaging almost 9 blocks a game.
Wow.
Okay. And those 3 forwards, 2 centers and a forward, but we'll just say 3 bigs that get major minutes. Okay. They're shooting over 50% from the floor. The other thing about Strack is she makes free throws at just under 85%. Mm-hmm. So I'll be very intrigued to see how they continue into SEC play with a seasoned veteran point guard. But the size they have, Strack, Key, Silva, all going at greater than 6'3". Strack and Silva at 6'5", 6'6". It's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So the key is going to be, can they make enough perimeter jump shots? And so far, they've gotten enough contributions. But very intrigued by how that team will continue to progress into SEC play. Mm-hmm. Other teams that you've been intrigued by in the early season from any of the conferences, any of the games that you watched?
We've watched a couple of the Davidson women's games. Yeah. I thought they were going to pull out the win against Wake, but they ended up losing by 5. Mm-hmm. That was yesterday. Mm-hmm. So I'll be interested to see how they do the rest of the season. They play Virginia Tech on Friday, and then NC State the following week, I believe. So I'll be interested to see how they do the rest of the season. They're very skilled, shoot the ball very well, very long team. Any thoughts on Davidson?
Yeah. So listen, right. So last year got off to an incredible start. They were like 12 or 13-0, 13-1, beat Wake. Obviously Wake has been going through this rebuilding process with head coach Megan Jebbia and her staff. In year 2 was a bit of a drop-off year, which isn't uncommon in year 2. They've gotten off to a much better start, but beat Wake at home, had a close loss on the road, and had a couple of other powers. So they got off to a great start, but then they were just absolutely decimated by injuries. They actually did not complete their season. I think ended up canceling their last couple of regular season games and then did not participate in the Atlantic 10 conference. But at one point, just barely on the outside of the top 25, but really getting votes very close. And then unfortunately, as they headed into Atlantic 10 conference play last year, they went through just an unbelievable run of injuries. It's really sad, tough to go through, but and then have come back and played incredibly competitive early schedule. And, when you look around at some of these mid-major schools who are good, Atlantic 10's a very good, strong basketball conference. We watched Richmond play today. But against App State, we'll talk about that one in a bit. But when you look at the A10 conference, Davidson sits right now at 3-3, but they've played some games that are definitely what I would say is they've clearly tried to play games to prepare themselves, right, for the conference, because more often than not, right. So they beat Florida Gulf Coast at home by 1, lost to High Point in a close one, which surprised me. High Point has been typically the class of the Big South Conference for a number of years, and will be in the mix again. But lost a tough one on the road up to High Point, lost to Cincinnati in a tough one, came back and beat Wofford at home. That ended up being 11. It was a tight game early. Then kind of in the middle, second and third quarters, they pushed the lead out, got it out into the teens, and then kind of Wofford battled to really push them in the fourth quarter. It was like a 9, 11, 12-point game. Then lost at Wake and then beat Presbyterian today in a bit of a rout. So, they get Charlize Dunn back this weekend, right? So that should help them. She was at times probably their best player last year. Yeah. But they're a very balanced team, and they've got great. They've received really good veteran leadership out of their point guard, Izzy Morton, right? Yes. So that's a team that's going to be really disciplined, run their stuff, share the ball. They've got a lot of shot making capabilities, and so I expect they're going to be in the mix when it comes to the A10. And again, you got to win the conference tournament to get the automatic bid. It'd be tough for them. Probably it'd be tough for that league to get more than one team, depending on how the year goes. But Richmond, George Mason, Dayton, St. Joe's are all off to good starts. Those are all the teams that have 1 or no losses so far in the Atlantic 10. But Davidson is an intriguing team. It's a team that I think will just continue to get better as the season goes along. What are your thoughts?
I do think having Dunn back will make them even more competitive. She's just a 3-level scorer, in my opinion, and she impacts the game defensively as well. So I'll be interested to see what they look like when she comes back. But I'm excited to see them play more games.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. They got Virginia Tech coming up on the 29th. That's an intriguing game because I do think that's a game where they can get that. It's at home. So it's at home and it's over the break, over the Thanksgiving holiday break. Virginia Tech has had a good start as well. Kind of a new identity, new players stepping up, which we talked about early. And but I do think that's a game where they do match up with them well, because I just, again, think that that's a group that really understands their identity. Davidson really understands their identity on both ends of the floor. And, they're getting healthier again, improving their depth and getting some shot making, scoring ability back into that, experience scores back into that rotation. So I expect they'll be in the mix as the season progresses. And, again, watching Richmond play against App State today, Richmond has had a good number of years, last 5 to 6 years, very competitive. But I didn't watch them play today in a game against App State, which was competitive for stretches. Richmond had a big time third quarter, but it was a tie game at half. The games we've watched Davidson play, the games we've watched Richmond play, I see those teams matching up pretty well. Yeah. And so, expect those teams who are, having some early success to be toward the top as the season progresses. Other teams that we've been watching, or other teams that you're intrigued by as we talk a little bit about the early season here at the Division I level?
I have to think about that. Let me think. I mean, what about you? Any other?
Yeah. So, I mentioned I've been watching I've watched a handful of games out of the America East, which is mid-major league, right? Primarily in the Mid-Atlantic Northeast. So Albany and Maine have sort of been the front runners in that league. And both of those schools are off to a great start. Of course, UAlbany's got a couple kids out of North Carolina on that roster, including Delaney Hill, who's getting some key minutes in that rotation, in a very deep team. But they're 5-0 right now. We look at the America East, and you look at the league. UAlbany's 5-0, and they've really shown their ability to execute and win close games. Bryant 6-1, New Hampshire 4-3, Binghamton 3-3, UMBC 3-3. So, and that's a tough league sometimes to look at early, because those teams are sometimes going to play a blend of games where they're going to be playing some powerful conference schools, as well as some what we might call 50-50 games against other teams in conferences that are with schools sort of similar to themselves. But, that's a team who, under Coach Collie Mullen, I think is going to have a really good year. They're going to keep themselves in the mix, in the driver's seat as the season goes along. A couple of key transfers, including Tomasetti, who came in off of Mount St. Mary's last year. But they're pretty balanced. They do have perimeter shot making capabilities. And in their latest game, really showed the ability to score the ball inside as well. So that's a team that I'll be intrigued to watch in that league again. And that's going to be a one-bid league as well. But in their early 5 wins, they beat Rhode Island, A-10 school, by 10 at home, beat Dartmouth on the road, beat Sacred Heart by 12 at home. Sacred Heart had a really good year last year. And then went on the road and beat Syracuse by 3.
Yeah.
In a game that Syracuse had at one point a 12-point lead, and then came back and got a win against Cornell. So in their next few games, they've got a Division III game against RPI over the break, and then they'll come back on the first and play at Stonehill, at Siena, at BU, which will all be games that I think are at worst 50-50 games for them. So an interesting early start, but that's a league that'll be interesting to follow for sure. But expect UAlbany to be the lead that league for most of the year, assuming they get health. Other teams for you that you've been interested to watch?
I mean, I think we've talked about all the games we've watched the past couple of days, the past week. I mean, talking about South Carolina, I mean, I know they had a tough loss to UCLA today, but when everyone's healthy and back, I think they're going to be tough to beat. LSU, they're going to be competitive. I
think that it's interesting. I was saying to you as we were watching the UCLA game against South Carolina today, obviously had a good, strong performance. Full while he goes down early. But I'm looking at UCLA thinking, who in the Big Ten is going to beat them?
Yeah.
And they will. They'll lose them. They'll probably lose some games. But, I mean, goodness. USC and UCLA get added to the Big Ten. And that's a league that right now has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams in the top 25, including 3 in the top 15. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams that are undefeated. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 out of the, 15 out of the 18, so 18 that have just 1 loss or fewer. And then Indiana with a couple of losses that, in the early season, Rutgers is sitting at 2 losses. They just lost to Princeton today by about 16.
Yeah.
But Indiana's 4-2. And that's a team that has had a really good run the last several years under Terry Morin. They lose to Harvard at home by 4. Now, Harvard has got off to a great start this year. Lost to Butler on the road by 10. Beat Stanford. It's a good win. Beat Columbia. Columbia's had a great, very competitive group over the last 4 or 5 years under Coach Griffiths. And then they beat Baylor at home as well. So, again, that's a team sitting with 2 losses right now, but have played some good early season matchups of some competitive mid-majors as well as some games against ranked teams. So if that's the team right now sitting at 4-2, I can't imagine what this league's going to look like, the Big Ten. And I was unranked, and they've played a good schedule.
Yeah.
And so I just don't know. It's going to be one of those. It's almost like the SEC in football, right?
Yeah.
In football, it's going to be like, it's just going to be a bad every single night in that league.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah. I'm excited to see, like you said, Iowa play. Ohio State's looking pretty good right now. Are they ranked?
They are. They're sitting at 12.
Yeah.
Right? They're sitting at 12. Great coaching staff there.
Mm-hmm. Just like you said, this conference overall, it's going to be tough.
Yeah. I mean, you're bringing in Oregon, UCLA, USC into this league that was already really competitive. They had a Final Four team each year the last 2 years. They had a team in the final game.
Yeah.
Right? So, but then programs like Minnesota, programs like Penn State, programs like Illinois, who over the last couple of years under newer coaching staffs have shown the ability to develop their program. And you're like, well, somebody's got to lose, right? And
yeah.
So the only team that I have real question marks right now about whether they're going to really be battling is Northwestern. Northwestern had a tough start to their early season, sitting at 1-3, and those losses coming against mid-major and smaller conference opponents.
Yes.
Any other observations in the early days at the Division I level?
I'm just ready to see some more games. Yeah. I'm excited. So let's get into some other conversation. Today we had what game on? What game did we watch today? We had NYU against Colby. Yes.
NYU is the reigning Division III national champion. So, again, looking to talk about the game at all levels. Talk to me a little bit about your observations from that game. I think they ended up winning by more than 30.
I remember as we're watching this game, you were talking about how just watching the difference of speed in the D3 game versus the D1 game, but it was still a really good game. NYU pretty much put on a clinic. They defensively, they were just a menace. They press, man-to-man full court press, multiple possessions. Their rotations were very good. They were hitting shots. Colby just had no response to them. Yeah,
Colby's got a bit of a younger roster, and they hung in there early. It was 14 at half, and ultimately they just missed. They missed a bunch of chippies around the rim. They had some real significant challenges with turnovers in the first quarter. That really was difficult. The game ended up being 90-56. So the second half was a bit of a rout. NYU got 20 points out of their starting point guard, Belle Palecchia, 20 points out of Natalie Bruns, who's an All-American caliber player, 12 points out of Caroline Pepper, 7 points out of Jamie Behar, the transfer from Lehigh, the graduate student transfer from Lehigh, 2 points out of Brooke Basher. That was their starting group. And then they had sort of, in terms of minutes, 8 minutes, 7 minutes, 12 minutes, 7 minutes, 12 minutes, 11 minutes off the bench, really balanced, deep team. As a group, didn't shoot it terrific, shot it not as strong from three, 5 of 25. They were, however, 37 of 77 from the floor and had 51 rebounds, including 20 offensive rebounds. So they really were a problem. Their size and length was a real problem for Colby on the glass, creating some second chance opportunities. But this team, they had 19 second chance points, 23 fast break points, 18 points off of turnovers, and 62 points in the paint. It speaks to starting 6'1", 6 foot, 5'9", and 5'7" at the guard spot in their starting lineup, and the production they got from that starting lineup in even like pretty limited minutes. They're now 5-0 and looking about as prepared as any team will be to defend a national title. However, they're the UAA, which is probably one of the top 2-3 Division III leagues with the Emorys of the world, the Tufts of the world, University of Chicago, WashU. The league's going to be also very competitive. Right now, when you look at the early season, what was the preseason top 25 rankings in Division III, leagues like the UAA, University Athletic Association, Old Dominion Athletic Conference, which includes Guilford and Washington and Lee and Roanoke, and we'll talk some more about those teams as the season continues. The league will be tough, but they look about as prepared as you can be to go undefeated. Again, now I don't know that they'll get through the season completely unscathed, just because of the nature of travel and league competition. But they looked every bit as prepared as to defend a title and make another deep run in the NCAA tournament. You're right. When you look at the speed of the game, that's probably one of the most notable differences. But it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. The top 25 preseason poll per D3Hoops.com. They had NYU with 24 votes at the 1 spot. Wartburg 2, University of Scranton 3, UW Whitewater, who plays in that incredible Wisconsin area league, which includes the likes of UW Oshkosh, UW Stout. So Whitewater coming in at the 4th spot. Bowdoin 5th, Johns Hopkins 6th, Washington and Lee. ODAC School 7, UW Oshkosh 8, Christopher Newport 9. Christopher Newport up the road has had great groups the last several years. One of the winningest programs in Division III. Illinois Wesleyan at 10, Gustavus Adolphus at 11, Hope at 12. Hope plays one of the most historic games every year. It's the Hope Calvin game. And if anybody ever, the basketball nuts of the world who just love history, like getting a chance to visit either of those schools and watching games in those arenas is unbelievable. These are classic gyms that just people pack out for games. UW Stout at 13, Smith at 14, Gettysburg at 15, Catholics at 16, Transylvania 17, WashU at 18. WashU, another unbelievable facility at the Division III level. Baldwin Walls out of Ohio at 19, Rhode Island College at 20, Carroll University at 21, SUNY New Paltz, State New York at 22, Tryon at 23, DePaul at 24, Hardin Simmons at 25, and then some other schools that are receiving votes. Bates College, who had an incredible year last year, UMass Dartmouth, Elizabethtown, Messiah, Vassar, Trinity, Whitman, Concordia up in Minnesota, Emory, another UAA school, Denison, Chatham, Loras, Wisconsin Lutheran, Springfield, and Washington and Jefferson. So preseason rankings, they'll start releasing weekly results here, weekly rankings for the Division III here in the coming weeks. But, I really encourage folks to watch these games because very competitive, very skilled teams. And again, probably a little bit of size on some of these rosters is the difference. But then really speed. It has a lot less to do with skill from my perspective. The other team I would really encourage folks to take a look at, only because there's some, again, we're based out of North Carolina, so North Carolina area kids. Washington and Lee right now is in this preseason 7th spot and are currently undefeated, but a young one by the name of Mary Schleichner out of Charlotte, who is having an unbelievable career, just starting her junior year. I'm going to run you through some stats here in a second. But unbelievable start to her career that just incredible to watch. They made a deep run in the NCAA tournament last year and looked prepared to challenge under new head coach Brittany Kemp, looking to challenge others at the national level. But any other thoughts from the NYU game today?
I just think a lot of people underappreciate other levels of college basketball. And I really enjoyed watching that game.
Yeah.
I thought NYU ran some really good stuff. And overall, I just really enjoyed it. So.
For sure. For sure. All right. Let me give you some numbers here on Mary Slicedern, who's a junior at Washington and Lee. Through this point in her career. It's taking me just a minute to pull this up. But this is a kid who's about 6'1", maybe just a touch more, runs the floor incredibly well. And last year, she had an NCAA tournament game where the stat line was absolutely bananas. It was like nearly 40 points, like 20 some rebounds. Let me give you where she sits in her career to this point. Okay. She's had games with unbelievable numbers. So she's played 65 games in her career. She's averaging 26.7 minutes per game. She's shooting over 50% from the floor. Okay. She's shooting just under 36% from three. She's 21 and 59 from her career. That she's added that to her game over the last couple of years. Probably the weakest part of her game, statistically speaking, is as a free throw shooter, shooting just under 64% from the free throw line. But here's the deal. Her freshman year, she shot 63.4 from the free throw line, 62.2 in her sophomore year. This year, she's shooting just under 73%. So clearly
improving. Yeah.
So through 65 games, okay, 65 games, she has 955 rebounds. She's averaging 40.7 rebounds. Okay. She's averaging 2.1 assists per game. Okay. She has over 200 blocks, 204 blocks, and she scored 1,279 points.
Holy cow.
She's averaging just under 20 a game and just under 15 rebounds a game in her career.
Yeah.
And has over 200 blocks through 68 games. She's four games into her junior year.
That's ridiculous.
Okay. So, like, if you get a chance, this is a kid that you want to watch play. You 100% want to watch her play because it's absolutely crazy the way that this young woman impacts the game. And again, Washington and Lee has unbelievable depth. Okay. So in a game against Emory this year, they won 84-73. Emory, great, another strong program, consistently toward the top of the University Athletic Association, which is the league that NYU is in. But they win this game. And in 32 minutes, she scored 32 points, had 21 rebounds. Okay. 2 assists and a block. She was 10 of 11 from the free throw line. She had 7 offensive rebounds in 32 minutes. Okay. So we have to we got to expand the scope of our minds when we are watching the game, because these are the types of kids that they're playing all over the country. Okay. Natalie Bruns for NYU gets 20 today, scores her 1,200th point, has had a great career at NYU. And so you got to watch these teams play, folks, because these are teams that have unbelievable players on them, and they relatively go unnoticed when we think about the broader game of basketball on the women's side. Unbelievable to see the growth of the game, the interest in the game. But when you get a chance, you got to see these teams play. These games all stream pretty much everywhere and anywhere, right? So you can get video feeds of most of these teams play. Leagues that I would encourage you all to take a look at early: Ultimate Athletic Conference, Roanoke, Guilford, Washington and Lee, Randolph-Macon, right? Randolph-Macon's another perennial power. The University Athletic Association, which is the Emorys and NYU's of the world. Like, go check these teams play because we're gonna be talking about them every single time we get on here, and we've obviously had a little delay, but really impressive stuff from some of these schools. All right, so we're just a few weeks in here to the season. We're coming up on Feast Week, right? Feast Week, and there are games all over the map. What are some teams that you're looking forward to watching this week? So,
let me look at. You start.
All right. Well, I'm really interested to continue watching Iowa play because this is a team who they departed, obviously, Caitlin Clark, Kate Martin, right? They got two more players in the league. They're playing, they got games against Rhode Island and BYU coming up, and then they play Tennessee, new coaching staff at Tennessee. But this is a team that's very intriguing. They had a really nice win against Drake on the road. Drake's going to be toward the top of their league. Very good win. They obviously added Lucy Olson, but they're getting 17 a game from Lucy Olson, 15 a game from Addison O'Grady, 15 a game from Hannah Stolke. Stolke is looking about as good as improved as anybody else, along with O'Grady. They're just pounding people inside.
Yeah.
The key for them, and what's netting out about this Iowa team, the key for them is the guard scoring. Now, they list Lucy Olson as a guard. I get it. She's kind of like a longer guard forward to me. But out of the other guards they have, Taylor McCabe, Tegan Mullaney, who's a freshman, Kylie Fierbach, Sydney Falter, and then the freshman Taylor Stremlow. Like who for them is going to step up and continue to be able to give them perimeter scoring? Again, they got one kid get 17, one kid get 15, one kid get 15. Again, that's like two forwards and a wing. Olsen can handle it some, but to me, she's really like a wing. So they're getting production, but who else can they get? Right now, McCabe and Mullaney are getting them just under 9 points a game, and that's pretty efficient because McCabe's playing about 20 a game, and Mullaney's getting just playing just under 15 minutes a game. So it'll be interesting to see how those roles continue to grow. But that's a team I'm looking forward to watching play this week in some games. But yeah, what about you?
I'm excited for the Notre Dame TCU game, the 29th. I love Notre Dame. I'm a huge Hannah Hidalgo fan, as I've said before. So I'm excited.
Who doesn't love that?
I mean, that's true too.
I mean, that's just complete havoc.
Yes. So that game I'm really looking forward to, and the Kentucky-Illinois game on Wednesday.
Yes, very interested in that game for sure. I agree with you. That's a coaching staff at Illinois that has done a really good job of building a really competitive group there. Had a little bit of a down year last year after their first year, but have really got a great roster in place. A couple other games to take a look at this week. Duke and Kansas State is a game to take a look at for folks. That is tomorrow night. Let's see, Tuesday, staying in the region, UNC Asheville and Wofford for a regional game, a big South SoCon game. Furman and Campbell, CAA SoCon game, again, regional matchup, interesting. I am interested in the Cal at Michigan State game Tuesday afternoon. Again, it's the best part of the season, right? Because we get games in the afternoon because it's during the holiday week.
Yeah.
Teams are oftentimes traveling. Also really interested in this Princeton-Temple game. Princeton just had a nice win against Rutgers out of the Big Ten. So that will be another interesting game to check out on Tuesday. Plenty of games to watch, so there's no shortage. But those are a couple of games to take a look at. As we head into Wednesday, come on now. On Thursday though, yeah, you've got South Carolina.
South Carolina, Iowa State. That's gonna be. I'm ready to see that game too.
Yeah. Big time opportunity there on Thursday. Kind of some other games there. Wyoming and Drake. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a big Drake fan. I think Natalie. I think Katie Dinnebier.
Yeah,
is a guard that people need to watch play because she's about as tough as you can get, and she just makes plays. Like she just gets stuff done, and that's a program where the kids compete, super skilled. They run their stuff. But that's a game team I would encourage you to, if you have a moment to watch them this week as well. But the headliner clearly is the South Carolina Iowa State game.
Yes.
On Thursday. On Friday. I'm I was excited about the games on Friday, but
I was looking at next weekend, and I'll be interested to see the Duke-Columbia matchup on Sunday.
Interesting. Tell me more. You think Columbia can hang?
Well, that's what I'm interested to see. I want to see if they're able to. I don't necessarily think they can win that game, but at least give them a little run for their money.
Okay. I mean, Columbia has given people games. Mm-hmm. My whole thing is, I hate to say when Duke guards, but I feel like when they're fully committed on the defensive end, their guards are so long. Mm-hmm. They can be incredibly disruptive. Now, I'm yet not convinced that they can score it well enough to make a deep run this year, but they're usually not out of games.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see from my perspective. I guess this is probably your point. Can Columbia score it enough to battle? Because they're going to compete and they've got some length as well. But yeah, I'll be curious. That is a good one. I would encourage folks to watch that one too. We're in it. It's happening.
Yes.
Season is rolling.
I love the winter.
I mean, would you say we've got winter?
Yeah, it's basically winter. Basketball season is basically winter series.
What is the actual official first day of winter?
Let me Google this.
Wait, you don't know? Like, come on. You don't know when the first day of winter is?
Nope.
What do you mean?
You don't know either. That's why you're asking me.
I figured you'd know.
Okay. Saturday, December 21st.
21st, okay.
But that's kind of far away. I feel like it's already winter.
Yeah, but see, like here in North Carolina, like
it's cold.
63 today.
But the low was like 39. It was cold.
You were born in New York.
Okay, I understand that.
Pictures of you in the snow.
No, but it's basically winter. Like basketball season is winter season.
It's a winter sport.
No.
It happens during the winter months.
No, it basically just defines winter.
If you were to do an outdoor sport in the winter, what would you do?
Outdoor sport in the winter?
You see yourself as a skier or a snowboarder?
No. I'd have to do is curling in the winter?
Yeah, but they do that indoors. Well, I shouldn't say that. They do, I guess, also.
Yeah, I do curling.
You do curling?
Yeah.
Curling's kind of interesting, right? They're like sweep really hard on ice.
I don't know.
Right?
How does that? I don't even know how to play curling. That just looks cool.
Which role would you be on the broom, or would you be the one responsible for moving the stone, like getting the stone guided down the ice? Would you be the one sliding behind the stone, or would you be the one brooming to get it to slow down?
I don't know.
Well, you brought it up. I assumed you knew what curling was.
Well, I kind of do.
You kind of do?
I mean, not really. I just think it looks cool.
So the idea is it's kind of like, to me, it's kind of like a cross between, it's kind of like shuffleboard on ice with a team.
Oh.
Right? So they have two people.
Wait, is it like a target? Like on the ground? Is it like a target and you're trying to get like in a certain area to get the most points?
Yes.
Oh.
You know, the stone, you slide and there's somebody who has the role of getting it started.
And then someone else
sweep,
like,
try to change the ice to smooth so it goes in it. So a guy.
Okay, I would be the one.
Would you be behind this? Would you be the one who pushes the stone and gets it going down there? Or would you be the person who sweeps?
I would be the sweeper.
You'd be a sweeper?
Yeah, just kind of cleaning up everyone else's mess.
Yeah, but that's not you're not sweeping to like.
No. No, that was a figurative. That was a.
Yeah, but it doesn't make any sense.
No. Like if they push it too hard, I have to work really hard to make sure it doesn't go too far. Okay. And if they push it too short, I have to work really hard to make sure it goes far enough. You know what I'm saying? Picking up other people's trash.
I don't. Yeah.
Yes, it does.
I understood the first part. You lost me at picking up trash.
No, it's like picking up after somebody else's mess. Like they messed it up, so I gotta fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not with you.
You've never heard that expression before?
Yeah, but this doesn't make any sense in this context.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Because, okay.
No, but that's
the guy.
It doesn't make any sense with the sport.
Yes, it does.
It's a sport. It's curling a sport.
Yes.
It is an Olympic sport.
Yes. Okay, think about it. Okay. So the broom guy is there to make sure that if the guy that's
there to
direct it. Yes, once they've released it, say the release is bad. The broom guy has to make sure that the stone goes where he wants it to go.
Sure not.
Even if the guy that did the stone first did it badly. It makes sense.
It's like an air traffic controller.
What?
Like the broom people are kind of like the people that like.
Oh, with the neon things.
Yeah, they're there to guide it, to make sure it stays on the runway when the plane is taxiing to and from takeoff.
I still think my expression makes sense.
Yeah, well, I'm not with you on that one, but that's perfectly fine. Did you ever see the movie Mighty Ducks?
Yes,
Remember that scene where he was having them pick up trash and they were shooting all the trash at Goldberg.
Oh, I remember that.
You got to clean up the trash.
Yeah.
You got to clean up the trash out in front of the point was out in front of the.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
That's why we got an offensive rebound wall. We got to clean up the trash. So when you're sitting there going, I got to clean up the trash when I'm curling, like doesn't make any sense.
My favorite scene from that movie.
Yeah.
Is when they're trying to teach what's his name how to stop.
Oh, Mendoza,
and he can't stop. He just goes right through the goal.
Got to go over the goal.
Yeah.
It's got to go over the goal. Okay, so what's your favorite basketball movie?
Glory Road.
Glory Road?
Yes, I love that movie.
Okay, tell me. I mean, I don't dislike it. It's probably in the top 10.
It's just so good. I've always loved that movie. I could watch it over and over.
What's your favorite scene in the movie? It's been too long. I'm going to have to watch it again.
I'm going to have to watch it again. There's just something about it. I just keep thinking about it.
Glory Road. It's a good one.
It's a good one.
It's got some history in there too.
I'll watch it over the week and
trade notes.
Yes, we'll trade notes.
That's your first pick.
Okay.
What's your second pick? You got your top 3 basketball movies ever.
Oh, okay.
So Glory Road is 1.
Hoosiers, which is probably your 1, right?
What's your third?
Coach Carter.
Okay. And not to be confused with Kenny Carter.
No.
Although.
What?
Yeah, I think his name is also.
What?
Ken in the movie.
That's so funny.
Look it up.
Wait.
Coach I think I'm right.
Carter.
I think I'm totally right.
Okay, I'm looking this up. What's his name? Coach Ken Carter.
Yeah.
That's so
right.
funny.
Yeah, that's crazy. Your AAU coach's name's the same.
Oh my gosh.
So 1 is Glory Road, 2
Yeah.
is Hoosiers, 3 is Coach Carter.
Yeah.
Well, 1 for me is Hoosiers.
But yeah, I knew that.
I mean, my practices are not designed for your enjoyment. And then my team is on the floor. There aren't any, for a coach, there are no better analogies.
You remember that AAU game when we had 4 players? Yeah.
So it's like, I got to live out one of
The ref goes, you only had 4 on the floor.
team is on the floor.
You were so happy when that happened.
The difference was, I was amazed. But here's the thing. Like, I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
I had a choice. And he said my team was on the floor because what's his name wouldn't listen.
Yeah.
See, that makes it even better. That's that's truly Hall of Fame status, Gene Hackman's character.
Yeah.
Okay, so Hoosiers is number 1. What is number 2?
Oh, come on. There's so many good ones. Just pick one.
Blue Chips.
I've never seen that.
You'll have to watch it. Blue Chips is probably number 2.
Uh-huh.
But it's so tough. It's so tough. Blue Chips is probably number 2. And then, yeah, I'm with you. Like Coach Carter, I think is 3 for me.
Yeah. I love Samuel L. Jackson. He's just so good.
He's the man. He's the man with the master plan. All right, so right now it's you've got Hoosiers, Coach Carter. I've got Hoosiers, Blue Chips,
Coach
which
Carter.
you haven't seen.
Yeah.
Which you'll need to watch.
Yeah.
And Coach Carter. Glory Road's in the mix, but it's not my top 3. I'm missing 1 or 2 that maybe I'm going to regret later. Not bringing it into the conversation, but we should do a poll on this, don't you think?
Yeah.
See what listeners have. Okay. All right. Next question. Last question before we finish up this.
Oh wait, what about Hustle?
Ooh. So like we might need to do eras though, because that's really new.
But it's so good.
Oh, it is. It is. Oh, that might have slid up. Hustle may have taken Blue Chip's spot.
Yeah. That might have taken.
Blue Chips might be just outside the top 3 now.
I just love Hustle. It's so good.
It is really good.
I haven't seen Air. I want to see Air. Is that top 5 at least?
No, not for me.
Not for you.
Ooh. Yeah.
I also feel like it doesn't have as much basketball in it though. I feel like it's more
but
business.
It's like a critical story that was told that changed the game.
Yeah.
What are some other ones that we should be talking about?
I don't know. I'm looking at these. I mean, Hustle came up on this, so that's why I don't know how we forgot that.
Netflix.
I know.
Do it right.
They do.
Sandler. Happy Madison Productions.
Oh, Rise about the Antetokounmpo brothers.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
I don't know if that one rises toward the top of my list.
That was pretty bad.
I'm
trying to think.
Your mom probably would. She would say
Space Jam.
Space Jam. Nah, I can't get with the Space Jam action.
Why not? Oh, Like Mike.
That's cute. That's cute.
Oh, that movie's so funny.
You can find shoes that would make you.
Oh yes, if I could dunk. Oh man.
Imagine you dunking.
Oh no, I think that's it though. I don't think.
Hoop Dreams.
Yeah.
Some of those you haven't seen yet. You got to educate you. Yeah. On some of those, but I think we're staying in the.
I think we've got most of them.
Got most of them. All right. Last question for you. What is your favorite basketball uniform?
What do you mean uniform?
Like coolest uniform
that I've ever seen?
Yeah. You're like, that's just an awesome uni.
Oh man. This is so hard. Okay, you go first while I think about this. Gotta think. Any team with red and black. Like, no, this isn't just because of my school. Red and black just looks good together. It just looks good. Like, Davidson's red jerseys the other night, those were pretty tough.
You'd say they were fire?
They were fire. They were really nice.
Whose uniforms do you think are kind of mid?
Mid? I don't like the Kentucky uniforms with like the weird pattern, like the kind of checkers. I don't like that. That doesn't.
But you do know that I think that's part of like state flag, I think.
What do you mean state flag?
I think they've got somewhere in their state like insignia. That's the thing.
Well, why not just leave it blue? I just don't like it.
That was just shorts. So,
yeah.
Since unis were.
I just think any team that has like either a black uniform with red accents or a red uniform with black accents.
Because the end of Vikings are like.
Yeah, but if we were purple, I'd be saying the same thing.
You say like
red and black just go really well together. It's just like Black Widows, it's just, yeah.
So you're saying you're a spider?
No, I didn't say I was a spider. I just said like Black Widows, they look cool.
I
kind of fierce.
See one again in my life.
I mean, you see
one, I'm like, I'm good. It's sort of like the Copperhead rolling down the street the one week.
Oh,
like, I'm good.
Yeah.
So red and black.
Red and black looks really good.
So, unis. I like really classic.
Yeah.
Looks. So, unis that I've really. I like what teams have been doing with some of the script writing lately.
Oh, you like that?
I do kind of like that. And like, I like really almost like understated, like very classic. There's been a little trend for some of the more classic looks coming back.
Yeah. I will agree with you on that. I don't like all the fancy, like, all the extra lines and the checkers and I feel like that's too much.
Kind of explains the sneakers that you pick that you usually wear.
Oh, yeah. Mine are usually very simple.
Yeah. Your sister likes all the designs.
Yeah, she likes the designs. Remember the cheetah print shoes that she had?
Those were good sneakers.
And they were good sneakers. Bright yellow and bright blue.
She likes the creativity. She's a creative kid.
Yeah.
Okay. Jeez. Yeah, I'm liking the classic looks, though, these days.
Yeah.
Like sharpness. And
I like a dark colored base. Like, I don't really like white uniforms. What?
Okay.
What is up with
that's cool.
Long pause.
No. I like simpler looks, classic looks. You know what I have always really liked, though? I always really liked teams that will do some sort of like call out to their school, like their teams. For a while, they were doing the like down the middle of the back, like behind the numbers.
Yeah,
they would do almost like I think Duke was one of the first schools to do this. I'm a Duke fan, so that's unfortunate. But for a period of time, schools were doing like behind the numbers.
Yeah,
they would do that like an iconic building or design that was related to the university. They would kind of have it like almost hidden behind the numbers.
Yeah.
Depending on their angles, you would kind of see it show up. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
But I'm liking this trend of more simplification.
Yeah.
Coming back.
Okay, so what do you think? Name on the back of the jersey or no name on the back of the jersey?
I mean,
I like the schools that do like a little tiny picture of their mascot on the back instead of the name. I think that's cool.
Wofford does that, right? Don't they?
Yeah. Yeah, they put Boss. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I'm kind of a no names guy. Like the name on the front is all we really need.
Yeah.
That's why you have a number.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to know a number. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I have one last question. Okay, can we have?
Oh my gosh.
So lots of trends, right? With numbers that used to be, you can only have numbers, 2 digits that were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5.
2, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Right? So you could go 2 hands. Now we've got 6 and 7. And all of the what's your 77?
77.
What do you think? I just think thumbs down on the numbers that are above 5.
I mean, if it doesn't affect me, I don't really care. It just makes the job, like the ref's job, harder. It's not. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. But I would personally never wear a 7.
Sideways and fingers up, that's difficult.
I mean, I just think about it. 77, you have to do 7. They could mistake this for 25, 52.
No, because sideways, you're putting one finger sideways.
You know these people doing the books. I don't know.
They're professionals.
Oh, are they?
Wow.
Are they professionals? Do they hire like professionals to do books?
So for the college, you've got like your sports information staff.
Oh, I knew that. But I just feel this could be mistaken for 25.
For those of you, obviously we're not live streaming. We're not, so you can't see, but like, stuff's being like all funky with their hands. Like,
if refs, they like hustle. They're just like,
John Havlicek wore 7. He was like the original. I
wouldn't. Okay, I don't really.
17.
You do what you got to do, but I would personally never wear a number like that. I just feel like it's not. It just kind of goes against.
Okay. Well, hey.
Mom hates those numbers. Yeah. She was complaining about it. Why are they wearing number 7? That's so.
It's an evolution. It's an evolution, right? Game changes. The game evolves.
I mean, I don't really care.
Okay.
As long as.
So you asked me, names on the back of the jerseys or no?
I mean, no.
No names on the back? Okay.
No. But that means that like the people commentating on the game, they have to be more aware and more focused about numbers and like, you know what I'm saying? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I mean, people call them games on TV, though. They're doing all the research.
I mean, yeah, they have everything.
Everything in front of them. They've got volumes of information to the game. So, all right. So we'll throw some poll questions out there for you.
Interesting.
Like kind of what uniforms you're looking for, favorite
basketball movies.
That's the key. All right, folks. Wishing everybody, all of our listeners, a happy Thanksgiving. It's been an exciting few weeks. Get yourself an ESPN Plus subscription if you don't, because every game under the sun is there. And head on over to d2hoops.com and get a lowdown on what's happening nationally at Division 3 level. All right, folks, that's it. Peace to the gym.
Woo.
Back with you soon. Bye.